Hello, you guys. Welcome into Steampunk Psyche. I am JT. I want to start this video by saying thank you so much for the new subscribers on the channel. I'm looking forward to hearing maybe some comments that you might want to make. I started the community chat yesterday. I'm not super familiar with how all this works, so forgive me if I don't get back to it uh, quick enough. I'm trying to keep up with all the videos too. And believe it or not, it is challenging, to try to get 12 readings out plus cardinal fixed and mutable signs. So I'm really challenging myself to stay, to try to stay clear and all the extra stuff that I do. I just want to be able to give the best readings that I can. So it gets tiring sometimes, but I want to say thank you if you're new here. You could check out, some of the readings that I've got. If you are cross watching, I just finished up all of the signs. Today, I think was I think the readings went out around 4 o'clock p.m. my time. So I'm not sure where you're situated at in the world or in the United States, wherever. So anyway, but I really wanted to say thank you for joining the channel. I noticed I had some new subscribers and I wanted to say thank you to those. I did post a comment on the community, so use the community chat to start a conversation, and hopefully we can get this thing out of the sandbox, and try to get it out there. I am just basically going to take a little bit of time and tell you a little bit about what I'd like to do or something like that. If you're interested in sticking around, I appreciate it. If not, like I said, check out the readings or anything. So. My idea is not to necessarily copycat every tarot reader in the on the internet. Obviously, every reader has their own way of doing things. I generally kind of stick with a Celtic cross reading or a 16 card reading. I do a collective reading, and sometimes I'm just sick of everything and I want to rant. And I think it's an important part of our daily lives, right? To get some things off our chest. At least we don't go home and kick the dog, right? So if there are times where I'm in that mood, I'll just get on here. If you'll notice in my description on my channel, it's like when the mood fits me, right? And I think we're all kind of like that. Sometimes it's just like I don't even want to look at the cards, because my energy gets drained. I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Pisces. I really get into these readings. I feel energy. I always have. I didn't quite know how to explain that when I was younger, and maybe a lot of you are like that as well. I'm not saying I am special or important or different. Everybody has gifts, but I always felt like I could read people's energies, and I'm almost certain that it probably stemmed from past traumatic wounding, childhood wounding, things like this. To be very astute and very aware of your surroundings, happened very quickly for me. So I was able to read a room pretty easily. So I've been accused of mansplaining, and I've been accused of giving out unsolicited advice. But the truth is that is a gift of mine, and I'm going to always continue to look that way because I call the kettle black when it's black. I don't want to make up a bunch of excuses for other people's behaviors. Just because people act a certain way or refuse to see or refuse to be vulnerable or challenge themselves doesn't mean that I have to. And I don't have to be around that environment. I chose to deliberately remove myself from certain people in my life. And that includes family members. That includes people that I love very much. So I'm certain that a lot of people who watch tarot are in similar situations. So I'm nothing new. I'm nothing special. But I just feel like maybe if I could share some of that in my, like I said, my advice at the end of these videos and things like that, then it really makes me feel like, somehow I'm giving back. Maybe in a way, it's giving back to people that I may have hurt, people that, um, that I was dishonest with, or that, I was in a place of misunderstanding of my own emotions when I was younger. I'm getting older, and as we get older, we tend to look back and go, "Damn!" Right? That's all you can say is "damn." Excuse me. Anyway, um, so yeah, that's kind of my position here at the channel. Um, I chose steampunk psyche because I feel like I have always been steampunk. Steampunk to me is kind of this personal feeling. Um, I have been a non-materialistic person since I was young. Money really, not to say that I don't enjoy money. I mean, that'd be totally lying. But money was never my priority in life. My relationships with people were basically my abundance source. I cherish people and relationships, and so the materialism in me just really went out the door. I could be content with a dirty old pair of jeans and some, and I don't hardly wear socks. About I have here lately because it's been cold in the evenings. But I just I'm okay. I'm content. I don't have to have a whole bunch of stuff. And so it seemed like I've always been in a position where um, I didn't really have a whole lot to work with, but I always tried to make do with what I had. So I would have my man cave somewhere, my tools, and I did have tools. I was an electrician for a number of years, but also I did carpentry and stuff like that too. So I've always been pretty good at my hands. I am an arty type person, artistry and things like that, writing and drawing, painting, music, that type of deal. And I'm sure a lot of you are the same way. But well, it seemed like I was always, tearing apart a radio, taking the transformers out and all the electrical components, and always studying that kind of stuff and looking at it, or I'd take an old cabinet and turn it into this or that, and I'd have a bucket of nuts and bolts, sort of like my grandfather, or grandpa's or stuff. You go out in the garage and you see like a coffee can full of screws, nuts, bolts, washers, but he's always seemed to got one, have one, and I kind of just took that same kind of thing, and I'm sure that stems from, kind of a lack mentality. It could be looked at negatively if you'd like, but I choose to think of it as, just kind of that preparedness. It's that preparedness mindset that comes from the lack usually. Not to say we couldn't run right down to the hardware store and buy a nut and a bolt, right? Rather than using an old nut that's rusted over and screwed, and you got to soak it in oil to get it to work. But steampunk to me is that it's taking the remnants of things and turning it in and transmuting it into something that is mechanical, from mechanical to a spiritual, or vice versa. Kind of like the temperance card, alchemizing, pouring from one cup to the other. So I kind of look at it in a way that steampunk psyche to me is part mechanical and then part, in the mindset. And so I kind of feel like that I was really drawn to that name. So um, I do have my own uh, artistry about steampunk. I've made my own tarot cards, and I've made some T-shirts out of these tarot cards. I kind of wear them sometimes in my videos. This one here is the Hangman. Might be hard for you to see, but I've used AI to help do it. Obviously, I'm not that great of an artist, but the reason is, like I said, I really wanted my own, so I'm going to start, maybe utilizing some of my own cards, and I'd like to make my own oracle cards and things like that. So that is what steampunk kind of means to me. It is just taking something from nothing, and transmuting it, changing, alchemizing. So hopefully, in this channel, that's the kind of people that will be attracted here. I hope that, we can get on the community chat and start chats like that, talk about just lifelike scenarios. I mean, I wouldn't care if somebody just told me about their day, you know, because we're here to grow, we're here to learn, we're here to change, here to change our behaviors and the ways that we look at things, to be more accepting. And I'm guilty, I'm totally guilty of, claiming to be a person who is unconditional, and then the next day I just, I have a road rage fit. I don't really road rage anymore, but I'm just saying there are examples, and I'm really forthcoming. I will, if I've made a mistake, I'm the first to admit it, because I really want to change. I really want to be different, and I would like to think, I'm not here to be anybody's guru, but I would like to think that maybe if there's something I can offer, especially life, love, relationships, or things like that, that, maybe I could share that. And I hope that people who join would, be able to do the same thing. I need as many friends as I can get. I mean, I kind of look at it like this. We're floating around on this great big rock, right? And we are alone as far as we know so far. Not to say that we're special, that we're anything that's, that some other life form or whatever exists out there in the universe, but we're the closest neighbors we have to each other, and we're floating around on this rock out in space somewhere. We have no idea where we're located exactly, because there's no starting point, and there's no ending. And I kind of feel like there's something very, very awing about that very thought, something very, very much larger than myself, right? Now, whether that's God or whether that's, Allah or the universe, whether that's, any kind of thing that grounds you in the fact that there's a higher source or a higher power. So I know a lot of readers, they talk about that, and they'll say spirit guides or the universe or things like that. So I honestly don't really have a name. I just know that their energy exists, and I know that I'm able to pick up on it. I know that I'm able to feel the change in the temperature, feel the change in, like sometimes during my reads, sometimes I just feel like the blood just runs right out of me, and it's almost like it's telling me to stop and pay attention. There's something about this and so, when you join that with the brain, the human self, who still kind of lacks quite a bit, right, to catch up with the universal language of law, it can be, kind of challenging sometimes. So hopefully that's a little bit, hopefully we can, kind of agree on that kind of a term. But yeah, so I didn't really have any plans on this. I thought, well, maybe I'll do a collective type reading. I'm sitting here looking at the cards right now, and I was wondering, maybe I'll do a collective reading. But I think what I'm talking about is the energy that may be out there. Sometimes we can feel alone. Sometimes I know that I went through a stage for quite a while, for over, almost 15 years, where I just kind of like hit a brick wall in life. I suffered an accident that left me immobile for a while, and it changed the trajectory of my life, tremendously. And so I really opened my mind. Not that I hadn't already, but it really put me in a hermit place for a very long time, where I sat with my emotions. I went down rabbit holes of not that I didn't study other religions already, but I really took more of a spiritualist view. I still studied religious views simply because those spiritualist views exist within the religion. I just don't really religiously study religion. Okay. Um, and I'm not against anybody who does. Don't get me wrong. I believe that all of these things, Taoism and Buddhism and Christianity, or even Satanism, or even any type of occult type of a group, and I don't put any negative spins even on Satanism. I don't, because I believe there's a balance of energy. There's a balance of both a negative and a positive. We call them those terms, right? Negative, positive, because early alchemists and scientists decided that there was this thing called positive and there was this thing called negative, right? And so and really it kind of turned over into an electrical term eventually down the road. But I don't think the universe understands either one of those terms that we use. I just know that there is something that we call energy that exists, and we pick up on it. And I have a feeling that it really kind of controls us in a way. And when we learn to flow with it, when we learn to like um, calm ourselves, and instead of being hyper intense and everything, I think that we're kind of flowing with the energy of nature. So if there's a term for that, and you'd like to, like to coin the phrase, let me know, because like I said, I feel like words are just a way so that we can, for obvious reasons, so that we can communicate back and forth. But sometimes my word may not be have the same kind of perspective that you have, right? So yeah, in life, that's kind of genuinely left me a little bit excluded from a lot of conversations, because I'm a deep thinker, and people will say you overanalyze, you think too much. And I kind of have the same response. I think you think too little. I think you don't think enough about things. You know, you call me an overthinker, and I think you're, an underthinker, in other words, right? So there's just perceptions of thoughts about things. And so, as far as universal, as far as godlike or whatever, I really don't know that answer. And so, if you were to ask that question to me, I really I could give you the best and closest word that I could come to, and it's mysterious. It's a mysterious thing. I do believe that we have abilities that we have not unlocked. I feel like that is maybe where the human race is headed. I feel like I've seen enough of a change in people here on the planet to maybe communication, right? That's one form. Text. See, eventually we may end up becoming part robotic. I mean, we may with the chips going into our bodies and things like that. And I know there's kind of a taboo, voodoo-ish curse upon that type of talk, but that may be where we're headed in the future. Who knows? I think it'd be nice to be able to use AI and technologies to be able to heal our brains and things like that. So, anyway, just a laid back conversation that we're having here. So nothing major, nothing cool. I'm gonna check my phone while we're sitting here doing this too. Yeah, I am. Yeah, that's my sweet baby girl. Anyway, okay. Well, like I said, I don't think I really had a whole heck of a lot to say. My main thing was to just get on here and say thank you to the new subscribers. Um, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you'd like to see, what if you're going through something, and maybe you need a little push in a direction. Like I said, I'm not a guru. I'm not a psychiatrist in any way, and take what I say with a grain of salt. And as far as that goes, that's the same thing with all the readings. Don't try to make your readings fit. By the way, I am a smoker, so I cough, I hack, and I'm a coffee drinker. So if you're a smoker and a coffee drinker, even more welcome. Kick back. I'll try to do long form videos as well. I'll do kind of a community across the board, collective type reading where all of the readings, and I'll timestamp those. I don't use, not right now. I don't have any video editing software that I'm using to be super professional. I feel like these videos are good enough. I can timestamp them down in the description, and if you have the time to punch the button while you're watching and go to the description, you can find your sign and just scroll over to it. But I don't feel like I need any editing software to sit here and talk to you guys. I feel like as raw and natural as we can be, because I want you to know that I am human being, that I'm capable of making mistakes. I'm capable of holding up a card and calling it a knight when it's a king, when I actually know what it is, but I say something different. So I make mistakes, and I'm going to leave them in there. I'm not going to try to change them and all that. So that's how real I want to be with you. You know what I mean? So, okay, so I'm 18 minutes in on not really any cards, nothing. But like I said, I just want to say hi. I want to say thank you. And I am going to be starting again. I think what I'm going to start is I may do a complete collective reading, which takes me about 3 or 4 hours, depends on how the readings go. And then I'll start back over with mutable, cardinal, and fixed, and then go right back to individual readings. So if you're interested in any of that type of stuff, let me know. And like I said, I'm going to try to get some more oracle cards coming in, but I feel like I want to make them myself. I'm kind of that, like I said, I'm steampunk. I like to create from my garage, create from my man cave. And so anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate everything that YouTube allows us to do. This is really an amazing platform, and I'm trying to utilize it and take advantage of it. So help me grow this channel, and I hope to see you here real soon, okay? All right, bye-bye.